Hey everyone, and welcome back to NerdTalk, the internet show where we take a deep dive into all things nerdy of the week, including movies, games, comics, manga, etc., etc. Today is a very special day as it is the first ever fan dedicated episode. Today, here with us is future Miles Morales himself, Imari Milsap. Imari is an up and coming actor, writer, and director, currently setting out his passion and dream to become Miles Morales in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you can catch him very soon when he plays the titular web swinger in his very own short film, Spider-Man Miles from Home, set to release this December. Amari, welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right. And just to let everybody know, yes, this is a vocal podcast. The reasoning behind it is because we started to try and record a video podcast, but due to technical difficulties, it didn't actually end up panning out. So we are just doing a vocal one for today. But anyways, getting right into it. Amari, I want to ask you, because this is a question I've kind of had dying. What is your short film about? What is Spider-Man Miles from Home said to be about?
It's basically a Miles Morales origin story.
Mm-hmm.
It's more comic book accurate because it shows what Miles is actually going through, and it doesn't just have him like start off as a superhero. It shows like even though he is being a superhero in this one, but he's still like going through it. He's not really confident with how he's handling things. He he's more open about how he feels about being a superhero. It's not good thoughts. Sometimes he has like bad thoughts about it, and the only one person that he can actually talk to about it is his best friend Gank Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why he really is like of being a superhero is because he doesn't want to disappoint his father. His
Right.
dad hates superheroes. He every time he sees them like swinging around or flying around, he always bashes them because he's a police officer and he always puts his life on the line. He just doesn't like how they just destroy everything and then just fly away thinking that they did anything good. After Miles first officially announced himself as Spider-Man, he wasn't all happy at first. He didn't accept himself. He's just in the midst of trying to be that he's trying to be that hero because he's going through a lot of stress too because he has to make sure everyone's okay. He has to make sure that no one's gonna die in his presence. He needs to be the hero that he wants to achieve. He doesn't want to go home and realize that just because of him someone got hurt. He wants to be able to go home and say, I did that. I saved this person. I just saved a bunch of people because I'm Spider-Man. I can do these things.
Mm.
And,
So
and
so it's a very, very much a comic accurate origin story.
yeah,
That's cool. That's really interesting. Yeah, without obviously going into spoilers or anything like that, what's the like synopsis behind it? What's like the actual, you know, story point behind it? What's Miles, what's the baseline for the story without obviously giving anything away?
basically it in the story Miles he finds out a bunch of people are selling superhuman drugs in his neighborhood. And so I'm not gonna say who the main villain is right now, but so far like as soon as he finds out, he has to go and stop them. So basically, the story is he's trying to stop these people from selling superhuman drugs, and he's trying because like if the guy, I mean the main villain, if he succeeds on selling a lot more, that will give him more control over everyone else because more people are going to buy it and more people are going to support him and more thugs are going to be on his side when it comes to fighting Spider-Man.
Mm.
Basically, if he doesn't stop him, then a whole bunch of people could either get hurt or a whole bunch of people, bad people, will become super powered to where they can't the even the police won't even be able to do anything about it, and they can overpower Spider-Man in the midst of 5 seconds.
Right. Um. So in this universe, in the short film, obviously you're establishing kind of a your own universe here. Is Peter Parker around? Is the original Spider-Man around, or is he dead in this universe? Or are you gonna take like more of a PS4 approach where he's around, but he's also kind of like a mentor figure to Miles Morales?
unfortunately, in this universe, Spider-Man did die,
Mm,
and I'm going through like the comic book route where his mentor is Spider Woman, basically the clone of
Peter
Peter Parker.
Parker. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so
but
yeah,
I
this is a very, very comic accurate version. This is definitely based off the Ultimates run of the comics.
yes.
Awesome, yeah. Um, getting to Miles Morales and that whole premise, this isn't obviously your first run with Miles Morales. You've wanted to play Miles Morales for a good while. Um, and that's kind of where your MCU talk about has happened. I've kind of seen it on your Instagram. Where did that come from? Where did that desire to be Miles Morales in the MCU come from?
It's that's so that goes way back. I was in I was in elementary and I always wanted to be Spider-Man. Like every Halloween I dressed up as Spider-Man. Yeah, I'd always have people like tell me, "Oh, you can't be Spider-Man because of your skin tones." I was like, "Oh, okay." This was before Miles Morales was originally announced.
Right.
So when I first found out about Spider-Man, I mean Miles Morales, I was like, wow, like it was such an inspiration. Like I felt more comfortable wearing a Spider-Man costume.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wanted to be an actor too. And then as I was going through like my acting stage of like I was practicing acting and going to acting classes, I was thinking what would be that main role for me that would actually make me like love this a lot more. And then I thought to myself, I could be Miles Morales for the MCU.
Right.
And after that, like I announced it on my Instagram years ago, then everything just took off from there. And I've just been trying my hardest to be this character because I know that if I get this role, then I can play this character so right.
Mm.
And
Well, hey man, it worked for what's his name, the guy who plays Shang Chi. It worked for him. He got that role. He got Shang Chi because of announcing that he wanted to play that character on Twitter. So I support it, man. I think it's a definite possibility, especially in the world that we live in, where so many people are like trying to put their place out there and put their foot out there and try to really get in touch with that concept and that idea. So I think it's cool that you are trying to enter that aspect through social media, just like a couple other actors who are now in the MCU have done. um besides Spider-Man Miles from Home, do you think that there's any other projects that you want to create, or if there is any other future projects that you plan to make? What are those, and when can we expect them?
oh yeah, I am thinking about making a trilogy.
Okay.
Like I already have a second script written and typed out already.
Oh wow.
And the third one, I'm still writing it out. I'm still typing it, and I'm still thinking of a good plot. So far, I'm 17 pages in on the third one.
Oh wow. Okay, so you just started on that one. That's cool.
Yeah,
Awesome. So this is obviously gonna be a trilogy for your Spider-Man series. That's what you have planned.
yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. Like, so with that story that you have in place, does it kind of continue on? Like, does it like the story continue on through the films, or is it like, the sequel is a whole new story, a whole new situation? Like, Miles is being put through a different situation than he did through the first film, or is it all kind of connected in one big sitting?
It's all connected in a one big city. Basically, for this trilogy, I wanted to be like a more grounded Spider-Man. Like I see a lot of other Spider-Man films, and they always have him like start off like swinging and jumping off buildings and stuff. In my trilogy, I want to show like how inexperienced Spider-Man is
Mm,
because he's still a little kid. He's not gonna like automatically start jumping off buildings because of the fact that for some several times that he's had his powers, he didn't really use them. So basically, that kind of was like his fallback because of the fact that he didn't use his powers well at all. It made him not so inexperienced to where he doesn't even know how to do the full full Spider-Man aspect. That's why he still needs a mentor. That's why he's still in training, because he's still in that space to where he's not all the way there.
Right. That's really cool. I like that. Like you're, obviously I would think that this is going to, be kind of taking place in Brooklyn, which is Miles's, hometown. Um, it's cool that you're taking a different approach to it, because that is one thing that has kind of been a repeated factor within Spider-Man films, is that it's always in Manhattan. There's the story of Spider-Man is always in Manhattan. And don't get me wrong, yes, Spider-Man, he moves to Manhattan. That's kind of what becomes his territory and everything. But he doesn't start there. Even Peter Parker, he started in Queens. Miles Morales started in Brooklyn. Like, they didn't start in the big hub of Manhattan. They started in the smaller towns, in the smaller districts, in the smaller cities around Manhattan, and then moved and coalesced into that. That's kind of the reason why I like Spider-Man Homecoming so much, is because, you know, a good chunk of that film, if not all of it, is Spider-Man in Queens. He's not swinging around the skyscrapers of New York City. He's swinging around his neighborhood, the suburbs, the town that he's known his entire life.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why Ultimate Spider-Man is also one of my favorite Spider-Man games, is because it's the only Spider-Man game that allowed you to actually go to Queens and stay in Queens and just do stuff there, rather than just take it to the Big Apple and to the big city of New York. Um, Not to, discredit any of the other Spider-Man games. I love all the other Spider-Man games too, but
Yeah.
I've always loved the aspect of Spider-Man being a actual neighborhood hero, and not like, this big time city hero. Um, so I really like that concept of it being a short, you know, a lower, he's a more dark toned like situation. It's not really like the big spectacle of swinging through the city of New York. It's like he's just trying to protect his neighborhood. And if you don't mind me asking, is this going to be a more darker adaptation? Like, this is going to be like something more serious and ground toned versus the practical comedy that kind of Spider-Man's become recently?
It's gonna be a mixture. It's
Okay.
gonna have it's gonna have like some serious themes,
Mm,
and but they're also gonna have like comedic scenes where where Miles is gonna have like he's obviously gonna have some quips and some jokes at some villains,
right.
but also
As all Spider-Man should.
yes, but most of the time the main situation is gonna be really serious.
That's cool. I really like that. That's a really cool idea. Um, Kind of getting off the topic of Spider-Man just for a second, because this is actually kind of a question that I had interested to me. Um, Obviously you seem like a very talented actor, and you seem like you've done your fair share in terms of this project. But if there was any other superhero that you could play, but like regardless of the character's looks or storylines or anything like that, what superhero would you like to play, and why?
Um, that's a hard question. Oh, okay. Honestly, I'd say uh I guess Superman. Oh wow, Superman, I guess.
That would be actually really cool. Hey, they are trying to cast an African American Clark Kent currently. Just saying, Imari would be cool. I vote for Imari to play Superman. That'd be a cool movie to see. Um,
Okay.
that would be really cool. Like, I always like, because Superman is like, I feel like everybody kind of discredits Superman as like their favorite superhero or a superhero they could play, because it's quote unquote the basic answer. But like, who wouldn't want to play Superman? Like, Superman is literally Superman. Like, I don't even have to like clarify what he is to people. Like, he's literally the most powerful superhero there is. Like, who would want to do that? Who wouldn't want to play that? So I like that you were honest with it and you just said Superman, screw it, Superman. Like,
Yeah.
that's definitely very true to my answer. I think I'd probably say Superman as well.
Yeah, it's because I got into watching Superman and Lois.
Yes. Ah,
It
my
it
heart.
is good TV show. It really just shows like just because Superman's like super, he's also like a super dad too. Like I just love those scenes with him and his family. It just really just like shows
And also
how
that show is like peak of one of my favorite things in comics and in movies and in games and anything like that. My favorite thing when it comes to superhero stories is when the superhero you're dealing with, their superhero life and their personal life mash and like collide with one another. That's like my favorite thing ever because it puts the hero in such a predicament in a situation where they're like, well, crap, do I have to deal with this on top of not revealing my identity and vice versa. You know, I have to deal with my normal everyday life without letting anybody know that I'm really this individual. That's why I love Spider-Man PS4 so much because it mashed that idea so hard. You know, with Peter Parker and Aunt May working for quite literally Spider-Man's villain at the time. Um, and the same thing goes for like, you know, different movies as well, like different storylines like that where like, you know, like you were saying Superman and Lois where, you know, Clark has to be honest with his sons and be honest with the fact that he's not just a regular dad, that he actually is this being that is capable of so much. And you know, it's just it's a very great storyline and a very good combination for those storylines is when the superhero's life clashes with the alter ego, you know, the human
yeah.
part. Um, so yeah, definitely would say Superman and Lois is a great example of that. Um, you know, without you know, with moving to the next one, without any spoilers, um, if there are, obviously, you know, I want you to answer this truthfully as honest, but at the same time not, you know, spoil Miles from home. What other superheroes would you like to see in Miles from Home, or if there are any superheroes that you're willing to announce, what superheroes would you like to include in Miles from Home?
Oh, love to include Captain America. I would love to include Captain America
Why Captain America?
because Miles and Captain America kind of have like a good bond in the comics. Even though like Miles had a, I mean not Miles, the Inhuman showed in a vision of Miles killing Captain America. Like it really just showed how like it kind of showed how like Captain America was like taking up a dad role a little bit, was like
Mm-hmm.
trying to like influence him a little bit too. It
Right.
I would really love to just see him like see them like train together. I was thinking about adding in like another superhero, but then I was thinking like I could do that like later on during the time.
Right. Yeah. Focus on like more of an origin story, more of a situation where Miles can really show, you know, who he is, what he is, you know, what he's able
Yeah,
to do. That's cool. That's understandable. That's a really cool like concept though, is putting Captain America in that because if any you know any comic book fans know that Peter Parker and Captain America and the Ultimates comics run didn't really clash that well. They actually, you know, I don't want to say they despised each other, but they didn't necessarily have the greatest connection. And you know, when Peter Parker, spoiler alert, obviously if you haven't read the comics, but then again, if you haven't already, then shame on you. But spoiler, Peter Parker dies in the Ultimates comics run. He dies saving Aunt May, Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy, and a few others in his neighborhood from the Sinister Six after getting a gunshot wound from saving Captain America. Um, so it's a cool dynamic for Peter and Captain America, like that they never really had a connection, but when it came down to it, Peter Parker did the exact thing that Captain America said he could never do, and that was be a hero. And so it's always that's always been an interesting idea for me because when it comes to Miles Morales, you know, aka the pretty much the successor to Peter Parker, the next Spider-Man, you know, Captain America has obviously definitely considered taking him under his wing as more not only just like as a mentor, but like you were saying also like a father role, like a protector, like a you know a dad. Um
yeah,
So that's a cool interesting concept. Is he in Spider-Man Miles from Home, or was it just an idea that you had on the table?
It was an idea because, to be fair, I actually was writing this script when I was in middle school.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was thinking about like adding like any kind of superhero to the mix, but then I was thinking like that would be too early because like it's supposed to be a Miles Morales origin story. I want the people to focus on Miles, not Captain America.
Mm. Would you say that Miles Morales is your favorite superhero? And if not, who is your favorite superhero and why?
To be fair, Miles is kind of my favorite superhero, not because I'm trying to play the character, but it's because like of how much he's such an inspiration to me and to other people
Yeah.
of culture. Like it's like ever since people found out about Miles, everyone like it's just like I see a bunch of people like wearing a bunch of Miles Morales merch. I have some Miles Morales merch, and it's just so hard to not think of him as a cool character. His personality, his love for music, his the way he just walks, the way he talks. It's just like it's really the definition of culture within a Spider-Man because there's not a lot of black superheroes out. There are some, but there's not really that many.
Yeah, and they don't get really the recognition that they probably should.
Yeah. So with Miles being added to the mix, it was just so
It was a shell
it was
shock. It was a shell
yeah,
shock. It was a definite, because Miles Morales, he came out at such a, I don't want to say it was a difficult time, but definitely a, weird time in our history. He came out as, a inspiration to Barack Obama winning the presidency. And, ultimately that actually panned out that he would kind of be developed as more of a fan favorite character. That's why he was found to be so beloved by fans and critics alike because he was different. He wasn't, they weren't pulling punches away. They were actually creating a character that had, the same, if not more power than Peter Parker Spider Man, but had the idea and the possibility to be different and to show that, you know, people of color could be represented in these comic books and in these stories, without being like a sidekick or, unfortunately, as hard as it is to say, a villain. It was a very cool thing for Marvel Comics to do because, like I said, unfortunately, people of color aren't really represented that well in comics. They are definitely being more represented better now than they were like 20, 30 years ago. But, Miles Morales definitely helped pave the way for that. So it's completely understandable that Miles Morales is your favorite character because I don't want to say he's my favorite superhero. I definitely probably say that Daredevil is my favorite superhero, but he's definitely up there because he, like you said, he sparked such a ins- inspiration to so many fans and so many people. And it's really cool to have just seen his character develop. And we can actually say that we were alive to actually have witnessed Miles Morales' creation. Like, not many people can say that about Peter Parker. So it's pretty cool.
yeah.
With Miles Morales and with that whole idea, what are some of your favorite things about him? What were some of the things that pulled you in?
It's gotta be his venom blast powers.
Right, yeah.
It's because like I don't know, just like the way he uses his venom blast powers is just like so it's amazing. Like it's really just like I don't know his camouflage. His camouflage is like so cool because it just shows like he's a different Spider-Man because like he's not just like Peter Parker. It just shows like wow, this is really a different Spider-Man.
Mm.
Like I don't know. It just felt more of his character that he would have these powers on his payroll. Like it's just so amazing, and his suit is just so his suit is just so cool with the black and the red and the new spider symbol. It's just
Oh yeah,
like
I don't understand what what got into the creator's minds when creating his costume, but I love every part of it because obviously we've had the black suit. We've had a black suit with, the symbiote suit Peter Parker wore. but we never had a suit that was just designed to be black for the sole purpose of the color. It was never that. It was always like there was an outer part to it. Symbiote suit is black because that's the color of an alien that's sitting on Spider-Man's body. So with Miles's costume, it's so sleek. It's so like, I don't know. I feel like it kind of sometimes fits the Spider-Man persona better than the original costume, which is like the highest blasphemy of the highest order to some people. But I don't know. There's just something about it. I do prefer the Miles Morales costume over some of the other costumes, and especially sometimes even over the original, like the original Peter Parker costume.
Yeah.
But I love the Miles suit. I can't. There's something about it. I just can't get it out. Like it's. I don't know. If I could own the Miles costume, I would.
Like, I actually have one.
Dude, I know. I've seen your pictures of you in the suit.
Thank
Like I would love that. Like, I don't really stand for the people who are like, oh, you're black, so you can't like, cosplay as Peter Parker, or you're white, you can't cosplay as Miles Morales. Like, no, it's not about that. That's never been. Literally, the whole purpose of Miles Morales is to show that anyone can be Spider-Man. It's not
you.
like a black person can be Spider-Man or a white person can be Spider-Man. Anybody can be Spider-Man. And so, like for me, I do own Spider-Man costumes. It's not Miles, but I own like Peter Parker, I own Miguel O'Hara, I own, a bunch of others. But like, that's the purpose of Spider-Man. Anybody can be Spider-Man. Please stop saying that only a specific race can be only a specific race of Spider-Man. Anybody can wear the mask. Go watch Into the Spider-Verse. It will tell you that anybody can wear the freaking mask.
Oh yes,
Literally.
Peter's suit. The one thing I did love about Miles too is like when he first was actually trying to be Spider-Man,
Mm.
his best friend just bought him an $80 replica of the same Spider-Man suit that Peter Parker had.
With slight modifications, obviously. It had like the knee pads and the elbow pads and
Yeah,
yeah.
it was just like when I was reading that comic, I was like, oh wow, that's pretty basic, but it just seemed like more of Miles's character because it's like yeah, he doesn't have all these tools and equipment because like when Miles he tried making a suit before but then it didn't come out good like I was reading this one part of a comic where Miles was like trying to draw out suits and stuff
Mm.
and he just got so frustrated because he couldn't do it, so his best friend came in clutch and just bought him an $80 Spider-Man replica suit and I was like, oh wow, that just seemed more, I don't know, it just seemed iconic to me because it's like if I was like Miles and I was trying to make like a superhero costume and I couldn't do it, I would at least just try to get like a suit at least if I'm going to try to do something.
Right? Like, and like that's always the thing that's kind of interested me too about Miles Morales is that yes, he's incredibly smart. He's incredibly smart for a kid his age. But he's not like Peter Parker smart where he thinks like, "Oh, to create a costume, I need these materials." And this, he's a normal kid. Like nobody thinks about that. Nobody
Yeah,
thinks like, "Oh, I need these materials and this stuff to make a costume." Unless like you're like 1000% dedicated to it and have been for a long time. Peter Parker was an intellectual genius. Like he could make the same stuff that Tony Stark could if given the money and the resources. Miles Morales, he is very smart, yes, but he's like us. He's normal. He's not like thinking about those things 24/7. So, if I got bit by a radioactive spider and got these abilities, yeah, the first thing I would think about if I wanted to be a superhero, screw making a costume, I would just buy one. Like I would just save up money and buy a costume and go from there. Like that, yeah. I don't know. That's what I've always kind of liked about Miles Morales as well is that he's a lot more realistic, in the aspect of like who he is and what he is. He's not like, oh yes, I got superpowers. I'm gonna make myself a costume. No, he just bought one. Just
yeah.
bought one at the store, like a normal human being.
It's that I know that's what I really loved about that part. It was just like so simple and it was just like so it just really just showed how human he is because it's like because like with other superheroes, they just like, oh, I could just make a suit, but with Miles, it was just like, oh, my
Screw
best
that.
friend
I'm
just.
just gonna buy one.
That's what I loved about that part. It just seemed so fitting to Miles's character.
Mm. Yeah, and like okay, so like going to the next question, like outside of comics, outside of the shared universe of Marvel Comics, who would you consider to be your hero in real life, in the real world, outside of superheroes and stuff like that?
I I'd have to say my parents, honestly.
How come?
They were so supportive when it came to what I wanted to do with everything. Like, I've seen so many people say that they wanted to be an actor, but then they would say, "Oh, I can't because my parents don't support me." Like that stuff is real. Like it really happens to a lot of people that just want to do something so simple, but then they don't have the support of their parents.
Right.
So my parents, they were really supportive, and I'm glad that they were, because I feel like if they weren't, then I wouldn't have been how I am right now. I would have probably just, I don't know, I probably would have just been really different.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like
man.
by
It takes a group effort to build a bridge. That's the truth about it, and it's cool that
yeah.
you have your parents' support to do that. Cause like I have my parents' support when it comes to doing these episodes and the stories that I create and everything like that. So that's cool that your parents are definitely your heroes. I would definitely say my parents are my heroes too. Um, Getting back to more jokester kind of things. Before we ask the final question, what matchup would you like to see on the big screen, regardless of any prohibition? So like, literally any superhero, any supervillain from either Marvel or DC or any other comics. What would you like to see on the big screen?
Honestly, I want to see Darkseid versus Superman.
Really? So you want to see like just a Clash of the Titans from DC?
Yeah, because what's it called? I was watching the remastered version of the Justice League
Oh, Zack
with
Snyder's.
yeah, it was beautiful. By the way, if you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Definitely
And
worth it. Worth the 4 hours. Go watch it.
yeah, and I see just Darkseid, just how menacing he is just by standing, and there's just like I'm thinking like, because I've seen this one show. I mean, not this one show. This one movie with like it was called Justice League Dark Apocalypse or something. I don't know
Oh
if that's
yeah. Yep. No, you're right. Yep.
oh, but yeah, basically I saw them fight a little bit, but then I was thinking like this would be so much better with a live action version, because like I don't know, the actor that plays Superman in the DCEU is so
Henry
perfect, and
Henry Cavill.
yeah, and I could really just see him fighting against Darkseid. It was always something that I was hoping for as a fan, because like I know Zack Snyder, if DC actually gets their stuff together
Mm.
and let Zack Snyder work, then this would actually be a masterpiece, because the way Darkseid was designed in the movie was just so perfect. It was just like he barely said anything through the whole movie, but you can just tell
Bro, he
that
scared
he's
the
just
shit out of me.
exactly. It's just like
Like
wow, like
he scared the hell out of me, man. Uh-uh. And like there were people talking online like, oh, Thanos from the MCU would take. No, he would not. No, he would
yeah,
not. I love Thanos. I think he was a great villain and a menacing threat for the Avengers. But you think that Purple Grape can take on what Darkseid is in Zack Snyder's Justice League? Hell no. That dude would
yeah,
get his head ripped off, and then Thanos would use his head as a freaking piece of toilet paper to wipe his ass. Like, no. Darkseid in Zack Snyder's Justice League is terrifying. Is absolutely terrifying. Okay, he killed a Green Lantern and almost for the hell of it almost took a Green Lantern's ring. Like,
like
bruh.
it's yeah, he's just like really just like I don't really know that much about Darkseid, but I do know like
Well,
like the way that he just stands and walks around, he just like shows that he's not something to be messed with. And
Darkseid's whole gimmick, his whole premise is that he wants to find the anti-life equation. It's the equation to all life to create life and stop it from being created, aka the anti-life. That way he can have total control over the universe. That's his whole gimmick. That's his whole plan. Um, that's what the mother boxes do. That's his whole situation, and that's why the Justice League poses such a threat to Darkseid because they understand what his plan is, they understand what his gimmick is, and they literally will put full forth everything to stop him.
And what's it called? It was Cyborg that had a vision of like him killing half the Justice League members.
Yeah, I know.
That
That
was
was that was another thing. Like nobody really seems to understand that Darkseid in Cyborg's vision, Darkseid literally killed both Aquaman and Wonder Woman just for the hell of it. Made Superman his pet, pretty much, and got made the world and the universe so bad that the Flash had to go back in time to before the Justice League was even formed to let future or past Bruce Wayne know that hey, you need to form this team and you need to form it now so that we can get the jump on Darkseid.
yeah,
Like
that just really shows like how bad Darkseid is. Like I'm a huge Marvel fan, but Thanos can't really do anything against Darkseid. Like
nope.
it's a washed fight if they ever went.
Darkseid is Thanos on crack. That's literally what he is. That is what he is. And give Thanos a little bit bigger of a build and laser eyes, and maybe, just maybe, he'll come close to Darkseid. But after that, nah. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Nah. Alright, Mari. We're coming down to the final question. This is a question that I want to start asking all of my guests. I kind of had a thing for this for the Lotus team, but obviously you're not part of the Lotus team. This is definitely just a question I'm going to start asking everybody. If there's one thing that you could tell young people who are just discovering superheroes for the first time, what would that be and why?
Would tell them that's a hard question. I tell them be the best person that you can be.
That's cool. That's a good one. Awesome. I like that. I like it. It's short and sweet and simple.
Yeah, it's because you like every day you don't know what a person is going through. Like you don't know if that person is like really on the edge or really just about to
Mm.
be on something that he shouldn't be doing. Like you always need to be a helping hand to anyone, no matter who they are or what they do. Like you have to be sweet and genuine to everybody because you don't want to be that person that causes that person to either harm him or herself or to cause that person to have a breakdown. You want to be that person that just shows up and possibly brighten their day.
Right.
Because I've seen that happen to a lot of people. Like they always get pushed around, and then one day it's one person. It just takes one person to cause that person to just snap completely.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that happen so many times, and I want young people to know like what you do affects others. What you say can affect a bunch of people. You need to either make an example or be better.
Yeah. I agree. Well, Amari, it's been a pleasure. Everybody who is listening, thank you for listening to today's podcast. I know today was a episode of a podcast, not an actual video one. I do apologize for that. Like I said earlier, it was just technical difficulties. We'll be back with our next video, with a whole video for you guys today. That next time, um, but this time was just a voice episode. I want to thank Amari. Obviously, thank you so much for being on. Congratulations once again for being the first ever fan to win the fan dedicated episode for Nerd Talk. If you guys want a chance to win the hashtag, the fan dedicated episode, use the hashtag UNerdTalk. I will pop it up on screen right now. That is hashtag UNerdTalk on either Instagram or Twitter. We now have a Twitter. Please go check that out. I'll leave that linked as well. But leave your hashtag with a post and why you want to be on Nerd Talk, whether it be to promote a fan film of yours or just to talk to me and the other hosts that aren't going to be on part of the show. Whatever the case may be, leave your submissions down in the comments below. We're going to try and do one every single month. So that will try and give everybody who is a part of the of the channel a chance to be on the show. But once again, Imari, thank you so much for being on. Guys, if you haven't already, go check out Imari's Instagram. Go leave some support. He has a GoFundMe up for Spider-Man Miles from Home, set to release this December, and he is a very, very cool individual. So go check him out. I'm going to leave him linked in the description down below. Mari, thank you so much for being on, man.
Hey, no problem. Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk.
No problem, man. That being said, though, guys, you all stay safe. You have a good time, and we'll see you all in the next episode.